Yo, what is going on, guys? Digirex here, and today I'm coming at you with a brand new video. And in today's video, we are going to be doing a type of video I have not done in a long time. We are going to be talking about a Destiny 2 subclasses. This time not in Trials of Osiris, as Trials of Osiris has not returned yet in Forsaken, unfortunately. Or should I say Trials of the Nine, my bad. But we are going to be talking about the best Hunter subclasses for the competitive playlist to help you get these competitive Pinnacle rewards and all that good stuff. So, we are doing Hunter first, because Hunter is my main class. I know the most about Hunter subclasses, and, well, that's why. So, first we're going to start off with probably melee, and then grenades, and then we will compare supers, and compare other stuff about the subclasses, and then we will come to a conclusion about which one truly is the best for competitive. So, Hunters right now in general are just a little bit weak in my opinion compared to the other subclasses. Or compared to the other classes. Titans and Warlocks seem to have a lot going for them right now. Hunters, on the other hand, not so much, so they are probably the weakest class in my opinion overall for competitive, but if you guys are skilled and use their subclasses right, they are definitely still a good choice. So, we are going to be starting off with the melee abilities in each class first. So, the Arc Strider. The Arc Strider has a punch that can regenerate health. That's mainly what its main use is for. You know, not super exciting, just kind of a basic melee, not like the other classes. So, I mean, Arc Strider melee is good. It's really fine. There's nothing super good about it. There's nothing super bad about it. It's just a good melee, pretty basic ability here. The Night Stalker has a smoke bomb that can be either used to turn you invisible, or you can use it to poison enemies, depending on which tree you go for. Personally, I would probably not use Tether in competitive. If anything, I would probably use Spectral Blades, but we will get to that later. But it does matter if you're using Spectral Blades right now, because the tree has different things in it. But I would definitely use the Corrosive Smoke Bomb. It is pretty good for stunning enemies. And then, for our Gunslinger, we have the average throwing knife, and then we have the knife trick. So, the knife trick is not very good. The knife trick comes with the Blade Barrage tree, and it's just not that great for Crucible. Normally you'll hit one of these knives, and it won't do nearly any damage, just because a singular knife doesn't do very much. It's meant for bigger targets in PvE mostly. So the regular knives are definitely better. The explosive knife, not so good. You just want a basic singular throwing knife is our best bet for melee options for Gunslinger. And sometimes, even if you don't mean to, you can trade with throwing knives. If you're shotgun meleeing, sometimes you can shotgun and then accidentally get a throwing knife kill. So even if you're not incredibly skilled with throwing knives and don't go for them a lot, they can sometimes help you. But overall, I'd say Smoke Bomb is probably the best and easiest to use out of all these. I mean, you throw it on a heavy ammo, you can snare the heavy ammo, stuff like that is really good. You can wombo combo people where you throw a smoke and grenade on them. But speaking of grenades, let us move on to grenades. So, our Arc Strider. Pretty weak grenades, besides Swarm, honestly. I think Swarm is probably the best. You don't want to stick people. And yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about with Arc Strider. Swarm is really good, especially if you have Shinobu's Vow. Shinobu's Vow makes storm grenades insane, folks. If you have Shinobu's Vow, it gives you improved tracking on your swarm grenades, and it also gives you an additional swarm grenade charge, which means that you can just be throwing swarm grenades all the time, and they are absolutely deadly. They track people so well, and if you get somebody weak, you can throw them around corners. They'll track around corners and everything. Just a really solid grenade. I would really not recommend anything else if you were to use Arc Strider. I'd recommend swarm grenades, especially if you have the Shinobu Vow exotic gauntlets. Moving on to the Night Stalker. The Night Stalker has the Vortex nades. They have the wall nades. I mean, really, Night Stalker, I would choose Vortex or wall. It's really up to personal opinion on this. None of these grenades are super PvP focused or super offensively focused, unfortunately, which just kind of sucks for Night Stalker. But if you pair them with your smoke bomb, like I said earlier, throw a smoke bomb on somebody, they're immobilized, can't really move very well, and then you throw a grenade on them, either the vortex grenade will burn them out, or the void wall grenade will burn them out. The other grenade I would not really go for. These two grenades are the most significant and pack the most punch in Crucible. I normally run with the vortex nade, just because I feel like it does a little bit more damage, and it has a wider area of damage, wider area of effect, because the wall grenade just creates a wall, the vortex grenade creates a large vortex, so it's easy for those wombo combos. Moving on to the Gunslinger's grenades. The Gunslinger's grenades are the most interesting in my opinion. There's no really clear choice like there is for the other classes. So the Gunslinger nade really depends on playstyle in my opinion. There's the Incendiary grenade, the Swarm grenade, and then you have the Trip Mine grenade. So Trip Mines have been nerfed repeatedly since Destiny 1, unfortunately. And I would not recommend using them under really any circumstances, unfortunately. Maybe if you have Amakar Spine, maybe you can have these because it gives you an extra charge of Trip Mines and improves your Trip Mines, but overall these just aren't very aggressive. I guess you could set up some nice kills with them, but they just aren't a very good grenade in general anymore. They used to be great when they could stick people and stuff like that, but not so much anymore. These Swarm grenades, they are similar, these Swarm grenades are similar to the skip grenades that I recommended for Arcstrider, although they don't track as well and they do not skip off the ground, so you kind of really can't skip them towards the enemy as well. You kind of have to throw them in an area where an enemy is jumping up or an enemy is capturing a flag or something like that, and even then they're not like swarm grenades. Enemies can't really run away from swarm grenades, but enemies can't really run away from skip grenades. I'm so sorry. Enemies can't run away from skip grenades, but they can kind of run away from swarm grenades and get away from some of the damage. But a lot of people like swarm grenades, so really, it's your preference. And the one I use is the Incendiary grenade. So why I like the Incendiary grenade, it's just a basic grenade that does damage over time if it hits you. The reason I like the Incendiary grenade is because you can bank it off walls pretty well. The Swarm grenade is an impact grenade, and the Trip Mine you can't really bounce off walls, so you can bounce it around corners and do damage to people. It also has a pretty wide area of effect, and the piece-les resistance. The best part of the Incendiary grenade, in my opinion, is the burn damage. So the burn damage stops health recovery. Obviously, you can't recover your health while you're taking damage, so it stops health recovery, really, which is pretty nice. And you can see damage ticks, which means that you can kind of track people through the wall based on the damage ticks. And it does 6 damage every second, so you'll be seeing this 6, 6, 6, 6 damage through the wall every time, every second, which means you can kind of track enemies through the wall and let your teammates know where a weak enemy is because they're burning and stuff like that. So personally, I prefer Incendiary grenades over anything, but really it's between Incendiary and Swarm, and it just kind of depends on your playstyle. There's no really exotics that help either of these grenades, so it's really just based on your playstyle. Class abilities. In competitive, I mean, all subclasses have the same class abilities. In competitive, I would definitely recommend the Marksman's Dodge instead of the Gambler's Dodge. The Marksman's Dodge just reloads your weapon instantly, which I find is a lot more useful than your melee charge in PvP. In PvE, I might say something different, but in PvE, in PvP, you really just want to reload your weapons quickly. And both of them you can kind of get around corners with, get away from some gunfire with. So I would definitely recommend Marksman's Dodge. So moving on to supers, which aren't very important when it comes to competitive play. If your team cycle its supers well and you are being very efficient with your supers, then you can get a lot of kills and win the game. So Forsaken is a little bit different now because we have 2 supers per subclass. So let's start with Arcstrider as we have been talking about. So any tree of Arcstrider, there's not a big difference in the Arcstrider trees super wise. Personally, I don't think the new Forsaken tree is really that great. I don't really think the Whirlwind Shield is that awesome in a PvP setting. Maybe you guys think it is. It really is preference. Overall, I'd say the Arc Staff super is just not a very good super compared to the other ones. I mean, if you compare it to Spectral Blades you can go invisible and still kind of have the same effect, which kind of destroys Arcstrider. Arcstrider can be decent when in close range, but I've seen Arc Striders get killed multiple times by other supers and stuff like that, and they're not really good for facing down other supers that you might encounter. So overall, the Arc Staff super just isn't that great. Now moving on to our Night Stalker. I would not recommend Tether. Tethering people is pretty difficult in PvP unless you're shooting it directly at them. And then if you are shooting it directly at them, you might as well have a golden gun or a blade barrage that can just instantly kill them instead of tethering them and then killing them. If you guys know what I mean. Tethers are just not super effective, unfortunately. So if I were to use Night Stalker, I would probably use Spectral Blades. So Spectral Blades, in my opinion, is almost a better Arc Strider, just because you have the element of surprise with your invisibility, which is super useful. I mean, you can come behind almost whole teams if they're grouped up and just go at them, because you don't appear on the mini-map, and if you just come up behind them, you can be super sneaky. You are very fast. The only thing about Spectral Blades is that it runs out pretty quickly, so you definitely have to pop it at the right time, play a little bit aggressive with it. If you play aggressive, it's kind of a high risk, high reward super, because it doesn't last very long, so you have to play aggressive to be efficient with it. But if you use it well, it can be a very good super. So, moving on to Golden Gun and Blade Barrage. So, Golden Gun, I've liked since Destiny 1. Golden Gun has been a pretty solid super since the beginning of Destiny, even in the Destiny 1 beta. What I like about Golden Gun is that you have a long range capability, and it's pretty much instant kill. It can kill supers with one headshot, 2 body shots, which is pretty nice. So you do have potential to shut down supers, which I absolutely love. It also, you don't have armor with it, which is the only downside really to Golden Gun, and it doesn't last very long. So once again, you also have to play very aggressive with this super if you want to be efficient with it. You also have to take your time and aim. Sometimes people just panic shots, which is not the thing to do. You have to take your time, aim, make sure your shots are hitting their marks, and you will be super effective with your Golden Gun. I would definitely go bottom tree with Golden Gun. You really don't need 6 shots of Golden Gun in competitive since it's only 4v4. Most likely, you won't be able to use all 6 shots since there's only 4 people on the enemy team. And your Golden Gun will run out super fast trying to find people, because once again, you'll encounter less people since there only are 4 people on the enemy team in competitive. Blade Barrage is nice for shutting down enemy supers. Sometimes you can get a nice triple or double kill with them. For the most part, you will not kill an entire enemy team with a Blade Barrage. That's just how it is. Normally you don't have all 4 bunched up in one spot in competitive. Although, if you get a nice double or triple kill, that can definitely help your team, and especially those elimination game modes, can take away 2 lives in survival, can take away half the team in countdown, which is pretty good. And what's good about Blade Barrage is that you can just pop it and totally eliminate these people pretty much instantly. They're instantly melted, which is nice. It's also very effective for shutting down roaming supers like Nova Warp, Storm Trance, Sentinel, any other roaming super. It is super effective for shutting down to protect your team from that pesky Nova Warp that will easily wipe your whole team. So, overall, I really like Gunslinger. Gunslinger has some nice nades that you can choose between. Personally, I like Incendiary. It's got some good supers, too. Personally, I think that Gunslinger has the best PvP supers, although you could make a pretty strong argument for Night Stalker also. Spectral Blades is decent, and then you have the Wombo combo. The Smoke Grenade is really what you want from the Night Stalker. And Arc Strider, I just don't think is in a great place right now. If anything, you could make an argument for the grenades, but besides that, it's just not that great. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you guys use for competitive in the comments below, and tell me any other points I may have missed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This has been Digrex. Peace.
Then I'm open to mind, so we all need some time just to settle down. Won't you come around, cause I never can leave it alone. Talking about somebody rolling, boulevard dining, making it count for efforts I can't explain. Balling and feeling we drowning, never been humbled by playing the fighter.